So
Yeah.
this issue might be my favorite of the 8 because I think it shows you how, like, what kind of person Supergirl is in all this, but it's also them traveling from planet to planet to planet to planet. And so I like that too, that the cover has like a map kind of feel to it as well, because they are all over the place with this story. So we start in the first,
Oh,
we see Ruthie and Supergirl on this planet of these like pink inhabitants, and she's holding a baby and she's telling the baby like it's going to be okay. um and she's the only one left alive there on the planet that they're at there, this, or at least in the city that they're at there. Ruthie tells a story about how like she's the youngest of her kid, or of her brothers and siblings and stuff, and that so she never really had much like youth around, but they'd go visit cousins and see how like they would kind of like how some of the other women or even the younger cousins could be so like motherly to younger kids. And she talks about how Supergirl is to like that creature there in that moment of like, taking them up and like calming them and making sure they're protected. As we see just the aftermath there of that, honestly, that little baby is the only thing left. We then go to this next place, the planet, and again, I don't have every panel from
yeah.
the
You're
story to
fine.
tell the full story of here, but
Sure.
they're talking to a guy in a hospital, and he's like, "We didn't even know when the brigands would be here," and he's talking about his friend Flarg. It's his best friend Flarg, and he's like,
My buddy
essentially,
Flarg.
like, yeah, me and Flarg have been buddies since like day one. We've been best mates, man. Like we've done everything together. A lot of times, or he's like, we did everything. And so we were just trying to escape. Like when we saw the ships coming, we were just trying to get to safety, just to get away. You know, Me and Flarg, man, we've been together since the beginning. We've been running mates forever. I'm sorry. I repeat myself. It's been a lot. Like you can tell he's kind of, trying to tell the stories he's going through. And he talks about, and he's like, yeah, the guy that you're looking for, he sounds familiar. Like he just sat there and just decided to just start cutting up Flarg for no reason. Like he hunted us down, no warning, just, struck right into him. And there's these really human elements that are just kind of sad to these stories that add weight to them. And he's like sitting there, the guy telling the story, and he's like, they always used to talk about Flarg and about how quiet he was and that he never said much. And they'd always ask me about them. Man, that Flarg doesn't say much. He goes, that's why I was kind of like shocked in that moment to hear him yell out as loud as he did. Where I was like, oh, wow, Flarg, didn't you know you had that in you? Like he's not like, he's trying to process all this. And obviously it's still something very traumatic. But, and then he tells, like, after he was done with him, he's like, I realized that the screaming, like Flarg's screaming, stopped. And it was just mine that I was hearing as Krim was just like hacking into me. And the whole time he's telling this story, Supergirl is sitting by his bedside, feeding him. And we come to find out like they're over, like there's just so many people there in the hospital unit that they have there that they don't have enough nurses and stuff for everybody. So Supergirl, while they're talking to him, is sitting there feeding him and taking care of him, like while they're there getting the story from him. And it's
Looks
just,
like the dude
again,
had
it's
his
just,
arms, legs, everything cut off.
he did. And she's
Yeah.
taking like, and she's listening to everything he tells. And every time he like, she's just like, no, it's like,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
showing again, like this Supergirl is just like Superman.
Mhm.
Again, maybe a little more foul mouth, a little more colorful, but at the core, like she is the hero you would want her to be. And so she's sitting there feeding him there. And then we come to this other planet and they come across this guy just digging a bunch of mass graves. And like she lands there and they come to find out that like that's exactly what well, I mean, he's individual graves, but
Yeah.
like Supergirl asks what he's doing. And the guy says, well, the mayor says, like, if I can get these done before the sunset, not like our usual sunset, but whatever it is for their planet, that we don't have to do a mass grave. And he goes, and my daughter is one of the people here. So I'd really like to be able to have a place to visit. And so Supergirl was like, mind if I help? And the dude's like, why do you want to do that? And she goes, well, because like you're my neighbor and it's part of my duty to kind of like help you with all this. And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. I guess I could use a little bit of a break. And so he hands her the shovel and she sits there. Oh,
She's
man.
like, bam, bam, bam,
Yeah,
bam.
she does.
Just hitting them.
Having a kid really messes with your
Yeah,
emotions.
I
And
get that.
so she, she goes through and she knocks them all out and she
Yeah.
hands the shovel back to him. And she goes, like, I scanned your DNA while doing this, so I can take you to your daughter's grave so you know exactly where it's at. But
Oh,
if
wow.
you don't mind like looking over the rest of my work too,
Yeah.
I'd really appreciate it. She goes, because I'm just like everybody else. Like I make
Yeah.
mistakes. So I'd like
Yeah.
that. And he's like, yeah, I'll I should. Like I'll go and look over them all too. And he's like, thank you. And he calls her neighbor. And then we're taken to
good God, what a change.
we're taken to our next planet,
Yeah.
which is these giant, like purple, just these huge, like, purple beings that live there. And Ruthie talks about how
it's such impactful artwork, though, in that the pink and the purple and the
with the green and the black.
It's almost not even a green. It's almost like a chartreuse or something. I mean, it's very, very nice. That is very striking, especially after seeing what we just saw. Very striking.
It's definitely a difference between them. But Ruthie talks about these people as being like considered mighty warriors and very strong. But when they got there, so like while they're there, apparently this woman was off planet working, like they were fighting some other planet. And when she came back, like she saw her people and like her family and stuff had been like, murdered and she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And Supergirl tells her like, hit me. And the woman is like, you're so small and I'm large, I will hurt you. And she goes, no, you won't. I'll be fine. Like, hit me. And she's like, I can't do this. And she goes, why? Like, why not? Come on, hit me. And she's like, what are you scared? And she's like, I'm not scared. You don't understand. You're small and I'm large. And Supergirl goes, you're not large. If you were large, you would have stopped them. Now, all you are is effing small, like just yelling at the person.
Yeah.
And the woman just starts like laying into Supergirl, just like beating away. I love the art on this though too, of just pounding away. And Supergirl the whole time is like, "Is that it? Is that it?" And finally, like lets the woman. I don't have it all. Lets the woman get it all out, and then eventually she starts breaking down. And Supergirl's there to comfort her, like she's like helping.
Helping her get past.
She's going through and she's helping all these people like process everything that's happened to them.
Yeah.
Then we get to this other place, which is I don't remember the name of this planet, but it's one of the first one they've got to where they essentially document everything on this planet. So while Ruthie and Supergirl had been traveling from planet to planet, they've been coming across just the aftermath. This is a chance for them to see everything as it happens. And Supergirl will not let Ruthie go in to watch it. She's like, come on, like, why not? And she goes, you're just a girl. And Ruthie's like, you were just a girl when Krypton exploded. Like, she's always wanting to. And she goes, you don't think I can handle it? And Supergirl's like, the things that are going to be on this tape, like, no. Like, and she just won't let Ruthie do it. So Ruthie just kind of like stays outside and like falls asleep waiting. And Supergirl then comes out, and you can tell just kind of like on the look on her face, like she's seen stuff, because she's like, Supergirl, and Supergirl's just like, huh, what? Sorry. And she's like, did you see it? Did you see him? And she's like, yeah, he was here. I saw all of it. So like whatever it is even still just horrific enough for like Supergirl to see. And I do kind of love that in a sense of not showing, because we've always heard the old thing of like, sometimes, like imagination is just as good, if not, of actually seeing it. So like in my mind, the horrors I can think of could vastly outweigh whatever they could draw out there. And I kind of at least like that there, but it's also painting the picture of these are just deplorable individuals. They come.
It's like watching a horror movie. I always love it when you don't see the bad guy. It's scarier to me, honestly, when you don't see the monster.
Oh, I completely agree. And it just like builds and builds and builds that way, and you build it up in your head.
However, this creep is freaking scary looking.
Who?
The one we're about to
this guy?
talk
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
So Ruthie talks about, we see this guy who is one of the brigands who appears to be caught. And they ask him, like, do you have any final words? And he's like, yeah, I got some. And they're like, all right, let's hear it. And he's just like, I want to say that before you all caught me, well, I'd be lying if I say I wasn't having a bunch of fun, man. So thank you for all that, man. I'm in your debt. All right, go ahead, do what you got to do. Like, he's just an asshole still about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm done. And then he goes, long live the brigands of, and then before he can finish it, boom, rock right to the face, followed by more and more. And they just kind of stone him. And Ruthie talks about, like, we visited this planet that I've heard is known for the red clay that they make this special pottery out of. That's what the planet's known for. I have to tell you, I wasn't able to see any of their special pottery on my visit. Maybe I'll get to next time I come back around. Like, that's what she's saying. And while they're stoning him, there is a moment where Ruthie kind of looks over at Supergirl and she goes, I know he surely deserved this, but I had some thought that you'd save him. And Supergirl doesn't even look at her and just goes, you did? Or did you? Question mark. Like, after everything, like, you still think that,
Yeah.
All right. But it does kind of show that, like, sorry, my allergies kill me.
Okay.
Like, it's a moment of where, like, Supergirl even in there is just like, you thought I'd say, like, that's what's kind of supposed to happen in a sense. Mm-hmm. Then she talks about this planet we go through that was considered to be like one of the peaceful planets ever. It was just filled with monks there in the tower, and that when the brigands showed up, they didn't even like get up. They just started praying to their deities, and the brigands just sit there and just slaughter them all where they sat. And Supergirl sees all of this and she's like, I have to go. She's like, I can't, like, I'm going to scream at like what I see in here. And if I scream, it's going to cause what's left of this place to come tumbling down. And she's like, I can't. And so she just takes off into space, and it shows her go towards, like, I don't know if it's the sun or like another yellow sun, and just like go and just like sit there and just burrow in it. Like, she is just overcome with emotion about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
There's some really great writing there by Tom King where he has Ruthie kind of talk about Supergirl as she's flying away, talking about of like, the thing about Supergirl that makes her a hero and powerful isn't like her heat vision or her super strength or like her, her cool breath. It's the fact that she didn't use the lasers to like see you. She didn't use her cold breath to talk to you. Like, it's the personalist or the personability of her, which is what makes her what she is. Then we get back to, we finally come to this last planet, and Ruthie just says, some things are too horrible to write about, so I won't tell you about this. And while they're sitting there on this little like tuft, it reminds me of like from a Dr. Seuss book.
It does feel
Supergirl essentially tells Ruthie, like, all right, like, we're getting close. Like, I'm pretty sure the next place we go to, Krim will be there. So I'm sending you back home. And Ruthie's like, why? Like, no, like, I'm here with you. And she's like, I don't need, like, I've seen him enough. I don't need you to like point him out for me anymore. Like, it's just going to be dangerous for you.
Yeah.
And Ruthie's essentially like, no, like, we're a part of this. Like, we're doing this together. Like, you had to put up with so much. I can do it too. And so Supergirl's just like, all right, I don't want to fight. Let's do this then. She like hunches down, and Ruthie hangs onto her back, and the two take off to essentially meet up with Krim of the Yellow Hills.
I like how, and I don't know a hell of a lot about this series or whatever, but the fact that they keep referencing like Superman catchphrases and stuff. Like, the very end of this is up and away. And that older Superman stuff, I mean, you'll hear that a lot. At one point, like when she first started meeting the aliens, she said something about truth, justice, and the American way. Yeah. I mean, it's just cool how it's peppered through there, but it almost means something different when she says it,
No, for sure. And I love that too, of like, if you're familiar with stuff, like, you'll notice things like that. And there is a lot of Superman references throughout the book. There's more, like, we got Crypto. I told you Comet's coming. You haven't seen him yet. I kind of spoiled that for you.
God damn it, you're making me come around on Supergirl now.
I'm telling you, I read this and I was like, blown away of how much I loved it. Of just like hope. It's like hopeful and inspiring while still being like, it's so good.
Yeah,
it's just so good.
No, it's very well done.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.